Hello everyone, this is Arrow and welcome back to Sundown Moon Up Podfics. Today we will be continuing Learning to Adapt to the Fall by Supupdog, Chapter 2. Say Hi, Unholy Screeching. Never mind. Izuku doesn't know how long it took for someone to come up and try and talk to him, but now they are. The only reason he noticed them was because he finally focused back into his surroundings. Wouldn't that be called disassociating? Hey, Midoriya? Midoriya, are you there? He takes some deep breaths, then pokes his head out from behind his feathers. He quickly locked eyes with Mike-sensei. He looks a bit worried, but besides that, everything else seems fine. Hey, there you are, buddy. Do you know where you are right now? Izuku took a little bit to digest the words, but nodded his head. USJ, attack, villains, Sue, Aizawa's knocked out. Aizawa's knocked out? He was supposed to help to get Aizawa to a safe spot so they could check his injuries. Izuku moved his head around, trying to look for the others. Hey, calm down. What are you looking for, little listener? Maybe I can help you find it, or them. He locked on to Mike-sensei again. Right, if he was here, that means the other teachers are here too. Aizawa? Oh yeah, he's been taken to the hospital right now, okay? He'll be right as rain as soon as the doctors know what to help with. He saw how the smile Mike-sensei gave him was strained, and that his voice was a little tight as well. It makes him a bit nervous, but he can't help it now. He doesn't know any medical knowledge at all. Hey, come on, little listener. We have to get you checked out too. This is if you can walk. I can carry you if you can't, or we can have them come to you. It's all up to you right now. Mike-sensei said all this with a kind and warm voice. It made Izuku feel very calm. He just decided to soak up the warm and safe feeling for a little while longer. He never really got much of it, but that was okay. I'm pretty sure I can walk, Mike-sensei. He slowly got up and held out his arms, trying to get balanced when everything seemed to spin for a second. He also felt his wings spread out to help with his balance as well, but they were more throwing him off than they were helping him. Whoa, little listener. Mike slightly grabbed onto Izuku's arm to try and help. It did, as soon as he found his balance again. He smiled gratefully to Mike, and then they were off to the EMTs that were dispatched. With a bit of a limp, because for some reason walking felt weird, as soon as he got to the medical area, people were trying to basically push him into the direction they wanted him to go. Too many hands were touching him, and his wings felt weird when they touched them. They shouldn't be touching them. As quickly as they started to direct Izuku where they needed him to go, he was already screeching at them in a more of a bird's defensive screech than an actual human yell. This seemed to shock the EMTs, and Mike just cringed at the volume, which probably hurt the other people's ears. He has something to help with those noise dampening, so Mike is fine. It felt like something on Izuku's head was lifting up, and he could feel his feathers on his wings and back also lift up. He wanted them to not touch him so much. It was too much. He didn't like it, but Mike is fine. One pair of hands helping him stand and walk better is just fine. Thank you very much. Hisashi didn't know what to think when they got the message from All Might. He was on his way to the USJ mid-call and was saying they were under attack. Villains were hurting the students. His heart stopped because Hisashi knew that if the kids were being hurt, that either meant that they got past both 13 and Shota, or they scattered them somehow. All the classes were informed to not under any circumstances to leave their classrooms, and if they have to, use their quirks for self-defense. All the teachers were on their way over with a bus, and they intercepted Ida along the way. The poor boy looked so tired and frightened. He gave a more in-depth report on what was happening at the USJ, and it was honestly making Hisashi worry. A warper, too many villains, the warper separating all the students from the teachers, and Ida didn't know if they were all still in the building or taken somewhere else entirely. Left alone, alive, but no one mentioned that line of thought. It made all of them stiffen up when Nita even mentioned a certain villain that didn't move or do anything the whole time, just standing there with a very weirdly built body, but that was a deep purple and multiple scars all over them. The rest of the ride there was intense silence, as they all hoped that no one was hurt too badly, but they all tried to seem fine for the kid who was riding with all of them. Once they finally got there, all of them quickly got out. One teacher stayed behind to help the EMTs, police, and ambulances find their way here easier. They did have Recovery Girl with them, and they all opted for her to start setting up a makeshift med spot for when the students got out. They then quickly entered the USJ, and it was a nightmare. Villains were scattered everywhere, and before anyone could think, Sniper shooting his gun into the middle of the plaza. This got Hisashi to notice the state All Might was in, and there were kids surrounding him trying to help with the fight, but they were all walking away. He was about to go into the small form. Hisashi was yelling down the steps to make sure the villains would stay away from the kids that were set up nearby. He also noticed Samrentos sliding down the steps and blocking off All Might from the kids. Only 2 villains were able to escape because they were the closest to the warper, and all of the teachers were able to finish up the other villains quickly. They all seemed like small-time thugs and were just there for cannon fodder, and that was most likely the use of them because the kids even said that they were pretty easy to fight. Hisashi was trying to make sure the kids coming up the stairs were okay and safe, slightly talking to them to get some kind of read on their state of mind. It was a rough idea because they just got done with a traumatizing situation and most likely wouldn't show any signs yet, but it's just in case. He was so focused with the students coming up the stairs that he didn't notice the ball of feathers, with a little group of students that were trying to help injured teachers. The only reason he noticed was because someone kept repeating one name, Midoriya. After so many times of Hound Dog repeating the name, he looked around and saw it. Beside Hound Dog was a ball of feathers? They were a deep dark green and brown with specks of white near the tips of the wings, or maybe under them. They also looked really puffy, maybe fluffy. They looked like new chick feathers that you could usually see or through those live Animal Watch channels and documentaries. It was weird, and also the fact that he thinks he sees a head of green hair in those feathers. Midoriya? Midoriya, can you hear me? Hisashi couldn't understand how this person could be the cute, nervous green bean because, well, he doesn't have a mutation. The kid has a strength quirk, not any type of animal mutation or transformation. So, trying to figure out what's going on, he walked up to Hound Dog to get some info. Hey, Hound Dog, what you doing? Mike was trying to be casual. It usually helps his mind in these types of stressful situations, especially after he saw the state Aizawa and 13 were in. Just act normal, Hisashi. You can break down later. Hound Dog looked back up to him with a slightly worried expression, but he quickly schooled it. This little pup is Midoriya Izuku. I can smell it's him. The other students that were with him said that he got hit by some quirk. Oh, so it was a simple quirk effect. The poor little listener was probably just overwhelmed by all the noises and senses he got. Birds aren't fond of loud noisy areas like this to begin with, if they aren't used to it. So the little listener was hit by some kind of mutation quirk. Might last for a few hours, maybe a day at best. Like a few days at worst. Nothing too bad, but does he have any injuries? He was always breaking his bones with all that strength he's got. He lets his normal chill but happy present Mike smile drop down on his face. The kid was fine, and Hound Dog must just be worried about the kid's mental state right now. Hound Dog would be rushing over to the medics if he was hurt badly or something else bad. The thought was proven wrong when he noticed how tense Hound Dog was. How he was holding himself by Midoriya, like he was ready to jump away at any moment, like the kid would attack him. That's not right. He's so tense and on guard around a kid that's in the hero course and also probably only hit by a mutation quirk. No, he was hit with something else. This made every thought in Hisashi's head freeze. Then what does he have? I can see the question on your face, Mike. I'll tell you all I know right now. I already called to tell Nezzy what's happening with the pup and also Recovery Girl. They will probably need a quirk specialist to find which villain used their quirk on him. Hizashi blinked a couple of times, but after letting his mind catch up with the info that was given to him, he nodded for Hound Dog to continue. The students with him, Mineta and Asui, both state that Midoriya turned into a baby after getting hit with a quirk that was aimed at Aizawa while he was mid-fight with the villain. Asui said she thinks his name is Shigaraki, who had a deadly disintegration quirk. The thing is, after being hit with the quirk, he suddenly had little wings and his feet changed, and he looked like he just gained a mutation quirk from the quirk that was just used on him. That's a weird quirk, but usually de-aging quirks all vary, mostly only lasting minutes or a few hours if they go that far back. Very rarely would you see a quirk that de-ages someone that young and sees it lasting for a day or more, but there were some that existed. So if Midoriya was affected by a de-aging quirk, what's with the wings? And Hizashi then saw a very sharp talon-type beak poking out from the feathers, and the other bird features on him. Shouldn't they have, gone away by now? Hound nodded, but turned his attention back to the kid. Yes, that's what I thought, but they said that they stayed and that even Midoriya was confused by it. They move all on their own, and Asui even mentioned that Izuku looked more comfortable with them on, but he seemed to be bothered by all the noise. Hizashi nodded along with all the information that was given to him. He knew quirks well enough. He was very good at taking them apart and learning about how to use them, so he can be able to help a little bit before the specialist gets here. It can hurry up the process, and that's probably why Nezu and Recovery Girl were trying to get others to help. Asui said he started to space out more and lost focus after a certain point. It was most likely due to shock, because she even mentioned how he almost had this disintegration quirk used on him, but Aizawa was able to stop it before his head was smashed into the ground. That's why I'm here trying to help ground him again, but it seems that nothing I'm doing is working. Hound Dog looked to be getting a little annoyed, but not at a little listener, but just that he couldn't help. This was the man's main profession besides hero work, so of course he's angry. So of course his anger was a bit high, especially after what they all had to go through with this attack. Hizashi stood there a bit, trying to think of ways to maybe help. He has helped some students in the past with this type of thing. He's pretty sure all the staff in UA knows how to handle this type of thing, but most likely not all might. Can I help? I have the little listener in my class, and he seems to like me a little bit more than the others he already had. I mean, he loves all his teachers, but he seemed more excited with me, if that makes any sense. That way you can cool down a bit. Don't want you to go all growling on us now, do we? Hizashi gave a wide smile, but he knew that Hound Dog knew it was all for show. This man could read people well enough to know when they are feeling an emotion, but at least he doesn't call Hizashi out for it. Hound Dog huffed, but got up from his spot. Yeah, that's probably for the best. I don't want to accidentally scare the little pup and just have him further into that mindset. I'll see how the other kids are then. See if the others need help with the villains. Mine might need to sniff some of them out of their hiding spots. Hizashi nodded and quickly took the place Hound was just at. If he can help, then maybe he could get the kid over to the medics faster. If they can walk over, then they know that the kid should. That's a big should, be okay with people near him. He gave a look over to Midoriya and noticed where his head was in his feathers. He could probably talk closer to his head or more in the direction of his head so he could hear better behind all that fluff. It was very cute fluff too. Midoriya, can you hear me? I know a lot has happened, little listener, but I can tell you where you are right now if that helps. Right now we have the heroes grabbing all the villains and putting them away. The villains are all cuffed and can't hurt you or your classmates anymore. The time, I don't know anything about the time, but I can confidently say it's a little past lunch. Hisashi kept talking like that and hoped his voice was helping the kid in some way. He had to shoo off some annoying paramedics that wanted to touch him and check him, but Hisashi wasn't having it. The little listener needs to be present so he can understand what was happening. He could go into another state of panic if people just suddenly touched him. Hey, Midoriya? Midoriya, are you there? Hisashi zeroed in on the small movement that was made. It was the first time the kid had moved in a while, and then he saw Midoriya's face. His cheeks were stained with tears, and his cheeks were stained with tears, and his hair looked more of a mess than normal. There were small feathers in his hair, and there were 1 or 2 feathers near both sides of his eyes, and Midoriya also had the black markings Hawks has near his eyes. That doesn't even cover all the feathers on his hairline, but Hisashi can ignore that for now. The kid needed to know that nothing was wrong. If Hisashi starts to freak out, then so will the kid. He was able to lock eyes with the little listener, so that means he can see him. That's really good. Hey, there you are, buddy. Do you know where you are right now? Hisashi put a calm but bright smile and waited for the kid to show some kind of answer. Usually, after someone comes out of shock or a disassociating episode, they can take a couple of seconds to answer. They just need a little more time to think is all. He watched as the green bean started to think of an answer, and Hisashi saw the panicked emotion behind those slightly unfocused eyes. Kid must be remembering the attack and what was happening. It was also the little group that was trying to protect Aizawa, so Midoriya quickly started to whip his head around to try and find something. Oh, not something, but someone. He must be worried about the others that were with him in the condition Aizawa was in, and was also not that great. Positive thoughts, Hisashi Yamada. Positive thoughts help. Hey, calm down. What are you looking for, little listener? Maybe I can help you find it, or them. He needs to try and get the kid to calm down and get to know if he was looking for the next fight or the injured would help with that. Hisashi locked eyes with him again, and he could see some panic drain from those deep forest green eyes. Aizawa? Okay, so Hisashi was right about trying to find Aizawa. He was the most injured, and the little listener probably knew that too. At least he seemed to calm down a little more while looking at him. Oh yeah, he's been taken to the hospital right now, okay? He'll be back. He'll be right as rain as soon as the doctors know what to help with. He tried to sound happy and calm, trying to sound okay and that everything was fine, but Hisashi could see it. Midoriya had a calculating look in his eyes, and it seemed like he was just dissecting him. Hisashi knew he was found out when he saw the little tension that went away come back. Fuck. He must have not had that much of a convincing calm voice for the kid. Fuck. He needs to get the kid's attention somewhere else. He could try to put whatever injury the kid might have to light. That might distract him enough, and when they could help with this weird quirk that he was hit with. Hey, come on, little listener. We have to get you checked out too. That is, if you can walk. I can carry you if you can't, or we can even have them come to you. It's all up to you right now. Hisashi just needed to get his focus somewhere else and his injuries treated. He just needed to get him to a spot that was better qualified to help, that had better people who were qualified to help with this type of quirk he was hit with, then it should help a bit more. He tried his best to sound calm, but excited and happy, calm but excited, happy and kind. That was what present Mike was like 24/7. Some found him annoying, but it always seemed to work wonderfully with kids. Having someone happy and carefree always just calmed a kid down a little better sometimes. He watched as the kid sat there for a bit. He was probably thinking again. For all Hisashi knows, the kid could have a sprain somewhere that he doesn't know about. I'm pretty sure I can walk, Mike-sensei. Midoriya then proceeded to try and get up, and he got up a lot faster than Mike would have liked. He was then proven right when the thought that the little listener could walk well right away by how he held his arms out for balance. Midoriya also spread his wings as well, and the underside of what white, like Hisashi thought they were, but they also had a few green feathers here and there too. He quickly noticed how Midoriya was losing balance and then he was gaining it, and he swiftly went to his aid. Whoa, whoa, whoa there, little listener. He grated lightly onto Midoriya's arms and tried to steady him a bit. He was happy that he was able to help the green bean stand better. Hisashi got a big, bright, thankful smile in return for the help he gained. It really warmed Hisashi's heart. He was then able to help quickly make their way over to where the little med-camp was made. The paramedics were traveling between that and the ambulances. Poor Green Bean had somewhat of a limp, but that might be the fact that his feet were longer right now, and also those talons on them at the moment. Hisashi would find it hard to walk right after his feet changed so drastically. Hisashi was glad that it didn't take that much time to get to the med area, but he soon regretted it as the paramedics and doctors rushed them. It caught him off guard, but Mike quickly recovered and tried to push them away to give Midoriya space. He could see the kid start to panic again. He could lash out or fade out again at this point. He tried to get the annoying dumbasses off of them, but they were just getting closer and not observing how much Midoriya hated the fact that they were touching him. Hisashi was close to just straight up punching them. RG wouldn't let that slide at all if she was watching. The feisty old woman would smack all these fuckers with her cane. Hisashi could see the panic quickly rise more and more and more, and he couldn't get them to back off. Right when he was about to call over one of Echo's clones, if they were going to act like this with a recently traumatized child, then they can just get out. But right now, he waved over to one. Midoriya screeched. But right when he waved over to one, Midoriya screeched. It was muffled, but Hisashi could tell it was a bird screeching. It wasn't human yelling at all. It sounded desperate and defensive, and it hurt Hisashi's heart. It at least got all the EMTs off of them, as they all covered their ears. That's what they get. And he was glad he had his hearing protection on because of his quirk, but it wouldn't matter that much anyway with how bad his hearing is. This loud screech also seemed to alert a bunch of people and different teachers. The EMTs backed off, but now more people were coming over, and Hisashi knows for a fact that would not go over well with the kid right now. He looked back to the kid and saw the feathers that unfluffed themselves from before standing back on end. Hisashi also clearly could see how the kid's hair was also taller and a bit more poofier. He could see the feathers in his hair mix with his normal hair, standing up in defense. The kid was on defensive again, but this time it seemed like the kid would attack with how he was trying to make himself look bigger. Here's a little meme in the end notes. Hisashi, don't cry right now, 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 don't cry right now. Get through this attack and make sure the little green bean is safe. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. The fucking medic's just messing everything up and Hisashi wanting to deck a bitch and cry buckets of tears at the same time. Hisashi, you're not going to cry or punch some dumb fucks right now. Chapter 3. Short escaped. Hisashi was still able to hold onto the kid's arm just to keep him steady, but anytime someone came too close, he would hiss at them. It was a bit of a shock to see his usually sweet, kind, and shy kid just be openly threatening and violent to anyone nearby. Don't get Hisashi wrong. He believes the little listener is in the right to be upset about all these people in his personal space after this attack, but now, how does he get Midoriya checked out? Recovery Girl was away trying to make sure they treat Shota right, and to make sure his eyes came out okay, and to use a very little bit of her quirk on him. She wasn't here to give a quick smooch then back off so the kid is fine. He doesn't even know if Midoriya has a major injury. This whole threatening thing could be him being defensive while he's hurt. Hisashi doesn't know because animal mutants act differently than non-mutants. He doesn't know how to help him. How can he help? Yamada-kun! A bright, cheery squeak of his name was said to the right of him, making whoever talked a good distance away from Midoriya that is on his left side. The kid shouldn't get too defensive with him in the way of the person. He looked over and saw Nezu coming over, albeit at a slow, cautious pace, but coming over still. "Hello, do you need help over here?" Hizashi could see how the back of Nezu's fur is slightly standing on end, but he wasn't going to point that out right now. He needed help. Right before he was about to speak, Hizashi felt a tight grip on his arm, pin, needle, nails, talons at the moment, going through his leather jacket and through into his skin. He grunted a little bit of pain, but other than that, he didn't show any emotion at all. "Yes, I could use some help with the little listener. He seemed to be gripping onto my arm rather hard right now." His voice was a bit stranded because the nails, talons, were slowly sinking in further. Here, Hizashi thought he would get through without any injuries. Damn. Nezu peered around him a little and had a quick hiss thrown his way. He just quickly put Hizashi in front of him so that he was out of Midoriya's line of sight. The giant white rat cleared his throat before speaking up for everyone around them to hear him better. "Well, it would seem to me that Midoriya has been affected by some quirk that has not just given him some type of bird of prey mutation, but also the instincts with it. Usually animal mutation individuals have to go through some kind of training or counseling to help suppress those instances or just to control them better. Since Midoriya has just seemed to get them and also is most likely hurt, he is acting out in that so that he can stay safe. You were helping him, so you are not in danger into the danger category, but all the other paramedics and doctors should have noticed this and backed off by now." Nezu said the last part especially loud so that all of them could hear the disappointment in his voice, but it seemed like Nezu wasn't done talking and cut off someone that was about to speak. "Someone should have called me over or another teacher to help the proceed because a lot of teachers here have dealt with this before. You all should have known, but if you didn't, asking staff would have been your go-to. Now not try to crowd him and put him more into those instances than he already is. Since he is a bird of prey right now, it would be best if we got someone that is also a bird of prey. They would be the best bet to calm him down at the moment. I can't because I would be seen as prey. Hound dog will go in between prey and predator, and that is also the mutations on staff." Nezu says all this calmly and loud enough for everyone to hear. Midoriya also seemed to be quieting down because of everyone stopping their advances to them. Nezu clapped his paws together twice. This got the little green bean to snap his head over in his direction. "I'm going to call Hawks because he's a hero with a bird of prey mutation, and he would be the best to calm down my student at the moment. I personally don't know any other hero or person that is trained to calm down a bird of prey mutated person, because these mutations are rare. I would appreciate it if all of the medical personnel to leave President Mike and the student alone until Hawks gets here and finds a way to calm him down. After the student is calmed down, you all will listen to what Hawks says and follow his instructions to a T, to tend to him, or he will tend to the student himself. If they are not greatly injured, I will then have Hawks deliver them to a hospital where the two other heroes and his students' teachers have gone." Hizashi always was so impressed by how Nezu could just control a crowd like this. Hizashi could as well, just not as well. He saw how Nezu's smile quickly turned sinister and sharper as he continued. "If I hear or see anyone disobeying my rule to treat one of my students of UA, then I hope that individual has a good legal team. I would hate to make an amazing hospital lose one of their special, hero, urgent, demand doctors or paramedics. That would be just awful. Wouldn't you all agree?" All of the medical personnel nodded rapidly while backing away from him and Midoriya. Finally having room to breathe, Hisashi let out a low sigh. These people really shouldn't have gotten on Nezu's bad side. He might not be human, but he hates when others treat his students with disrespect or indecency. Nezu shot him a quick but what seemed to be apologetic smile as he slipped his phone out of his pocket, already calling the number 3 hero to come down when he could. Hisashi knows for a fact the winged man was probably going to take a little bit, getting the call, learning about the information, finishing up his shift, or coming right away, having to call his agency so they know what's going on. So many things that poor number 3 will have to do just to come here and help Midoriya, but he can wait. Hisashi can wait hours if it means that his student will eventually calm down enough to get treated and put into the hero ward where he will be safe, and hopefully with competent doctors and nurses. If there isn't any, then Hisashi will sue them because maybe this is just ridiculous. If there isn't any, then Hisashi will sue them himself because this is just ridiculous. He's pulled out of his thoughts as he feels the grip in his arm slightly loosen, but that also leads to nail digging into his arm to undig themselves a bit. Hisashi could feel some more blood trickle down his arm and his jacket, but that's okay. The little listener needs help right now, and he knows for a fact that Midoriya isn't doing it on purpose. The poor kid probably doesn't even know his new talon-like feet and fingers are sporting at the moment. It's a very big statement. He's deceased for today, showing off his talents and losing them and using them like no one's business. Ugh, it hurts, and humor is not helping. At least Midoriya seems to be slightly depuffing himself. That's good. After what feels like ages, Hisashi was able to see a red dot in the sky get closer and closer. Soon that dot turns into Hawks, then Hawks landing dramatically on the ground. He's a little bit away, but the wind from the landing lightly whips all over them still. This seemed to put Midoriya back on edge a little, and now the nails are going back deeper into his arms. It hurts, it really does, but he can't do anything. He's stuck until Hawks can get the poor kid off his arm. Hey-yo, sorry I got here a little slow. I was in the middle of getting a small group of muggers down an alley. Took a bit longer than I thought it would. God, is Hisashi glad Hawks is here. He should know at least something that will help the kid with the grip at the moment. Hopefully. There's a lot of endnote memes. Izuku, danger, danger. Hisashi, getting his arm punctured. Ow, 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 ow. This is fine. The med team, we need to treat him. Hisashi, you need to leave. Med team, no. Izuku, I want you to leave. Med team, no. Nezu, I will get plenty of lawsuits. Med team, okay. Nezu walking into the mess that is watching the med team just fuck up everything that is basic emergency call training that is literally for beginners. My fucking gods, I shouldn't have let these nincompoops into my territory. They are messing everything up and making the place stink with their awful scents. RG, I'm working on Aizawa, but the emergency med team isn't here yet. Med team just arriving. We can help. RG, great, I'm trusting you. RG later, after knowing what the med team did. Oh my god, I feel the need to smack all of them with my cane. I'm finding them and smacking them with my cane. Hawks minding his own business. Ooh, look, a call from the number 1 pain in the commission side. Nezu wishing to sue the fuck out of the one call med team. Please, I need someone to help the kid. Hawks, oh fuck, okay. Hangs up. Fuck, I don't know how to do this shit. Commission, you need to do this by any means necessary. That way we can get into the rat's good graces, so we can get closer to him. Hawks thinking of a loophole that he could use for that order later. Okay. Hisashi, I'm waiting. Ow, 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 ow. Fuck. Shit, why? Izu, me scared. They big and smell. Nezu, see, I said you were more than useless tissue paper. They were soaked in water, assholes, and sticking up my territory. Get out! The hospital that sent the med team. How? What? How the fuck? How could you fuck that up? The team. Hospital. Just how? Alright, everyone, that is the end of chapters 2 and 3 of Learning to Adapt to the Fall by Supupdog. The next chapter is going to be a lot longer, so I hope you're all ready for it when it comes out. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!